These are some of the scariest Stephen King characters ever created. As an actor myself, today I'm breaking down the secret acting choices that made them terrifying. The fifth scariest character is easily Carrie in the 1976 movie Carrie, and even though it's over 50 years old, her acting is still superior to most modern performances. And let me explain why. Right from the beginning, she perfectly captures what it's like to live under a controlling religious parent. Her face is constantly holding back emotion. It feels like she's bottling up things that she never gets to say. Even in her eyes, you can just see she feels out of place. Carrie has been sheltered her whole life, so every social interaction feels awkward. This actor shows this through her body language. Her movements are slightly stiff, very hesitant, and because of all of these things, her transformation later in the film is so disturbing. When someone this socially trapped suddenly gets supernatural powers, it becomes terrifying because of how transformative it is. She now has these wide open eyes, and she would walk in this controlled manner, making her feel dominant. It was especially striking when she would turn her head in this slow way, really bringing out an abnormal effect. Slow movement, especially during chaos, it just feels unnatural. Our brains are expecting panic, but Carrie staying calm, that contrast itself is what makes the moment disturbing. For 1976, this is phenomenal horror acting. Sissy's overwhelmingly slow pace made this so eerie, but still not as disturbing as this next performance. The 1979 version of Salem's Lot is a vampire movie where you'd expect the scariest character to be the vampire leader, Kurt Barlow. And sure, although he has his rare moments, the acting is nothing in comparison to Jeffrey Lewis, one of the first humans to be turned into a vampire. As this scary vampire, he has the most sinister body language I've ever seen from the 80s era. I want you to notice how this man is unafraid to perform. He has such wild expressions in the face from the jump, moving his legs in this restless manner. Even when he stands, he does it so boldly that it feels like a statement. As an actor myself, I can see he is so into this role. Maybe you guys missed all the neck movement he's implementing, which makes him feel like a literal zombie, some erratic person that's just ready to pounce.
Look at me.
Crazy part is, this type of animalistic acting wasn't even popular back then. A lot of the great acted monsters started to do it in the 2000s, while this man was doing it over 20 years earlier. But unfortunately, he was only scary in this one scene, unlike the third scariest Stephen King character, who brought a haunting performance through the entire movie. Let's talk about Annie Wilkes from the 1990 movie called Misery. The best way to describe her performance is hidden psychopath, because at first, when she saves this man from the storm and lets him rest in her house, she plays this very kind-hearted fan of his.
I told you I was your #1 fan.
However, as the movie goes on, you notice moments like this, where her eyes would be totally blank. Even as she would listen to him, it would lack any type of emotion. It would make her feel robotic.
Thank you for thinking of me.
Like something was slightly off. And whenever we would start to feel comfortable, something like this would happen.
They do not?
Annie would instantly
What do you think I say when I go to the feed store in town? Oh, now, Wally, give me a bag of that effing pig feed and
rise into rage and suddenly just drop it.
see what you made me do?
These jumps would make her feel unpredictable.
Oh, Paul, I'm sorry.
We would never really
I'm
know
so
when the
sorry.
horror would strike. We'd be watching a seemingly normal conversation, something specific would take Annie off. Kathy Bates truly deserved the Oscar for this performance, and by the end, her presence became alarming, easily earning her the third scariest spot. But Even the great Kathy doesn't stand a chance when compared,
as far as my wife is concerned,
to Jack Torrance, the terrifying lead from the 1980 movie The Shining. I want you to notice how Jack has so much natural energy. He is always moving his head while he talks. In fact, almost to an unnatural level. And this constant motion was very purposeful, because the more he did it, the more we'd understand this is an unstable person.
As long as I live, she'll never let me forget what happened.
Watch in this scene when he becomes a drunken mess. We feel uneasy because of how restless he is. It's like there's an itch inside of him that just won't stop festering. The thing is, many top horror performers do this exact restlessness because they know it creates this type of anxiety through the screen. But the really scary part is how he involves these movements for lines that don't even require it.
The momentary
Notice as he enters this more calm type of delivery with this whispery tone.
You extra foot-pounds of energy.
Usually this means a more relaxed state. But surprisingly in this case, we see how he decides to still make plenty of use with his hands. This is not a human approach to do things. He has found a unique way to be restless even when he's calm. And this next scene is an even weirder example of that. Usually, when you're chasing people up the stairs, your hands don't play a big part. They kind of just sit by your side, but what you certainly don't do with them is this.
Please! Don't hurt me!
I'm not gonna hurt you.
The fact that he provokes her with them, starts gesturing with them, is so off-putting. It feels chaotic because his body is too involved. Combine that with his crazy facial expressions and you get such a charged figure that is slowly hunting you down, step by step. Jack Nicholson truly played this character with an extraordinary amount of energy, and still it wasn't enough for the #1 spot, because that spot is carved in stone by Bill Skarsgard, a 6'5" man who plays Pennywise. I want you to understand every single thing the past 4 performers did. This dancing clown did them all better, and I'll make you believe it in the next 60 seconds. When it comes to the jumpy energy that Jack Torrance brought, Pennywise brings it out 4 times harder. There are several moments where you notice how he dominates the frame and take up the most amount of space possible. Whether it was him spreading his arms coming out of a locker or hunting down a child by extravagantly dancing towards him. It made him feel terrifying because it shows disrespect. The clown doesn't respect your space, so he will invade it with his body. And the best horror creatures do exactly this, consuming the space around them to emphasize the domination. But even besides the chaotic movements, Bill Skarsgard brought unpredictability to this character. We saw earlier how Amy Wilkes did this. She would have these fast, sudden changes in energy, and Pennywise does the exact same thing, but in a much more dramatic way. This scene is the best example of that. When he's talking to this little girl, at first he would talk all jolly, then after her response, he'd suddenly stop and stare. And then a few minutes later, he did it again when he starts counting up all happy just to do this. A change in tempo was very effective. Instantly, it was made clear to us that something has shifted for the worse. The crazy part is, Pennywise is putting up these crazy performances to this day. Literally a few months ago when Welcome to Derry came out, we saw a spectacular scene where he pulled off such a strong shift, going from that pretty relaxed happy clown into murderer. The fact he's kept this performance up for almost 10 years now, it's a no-brainer to crown him as the scariest Stephen King character. If you want to see more horror-related acting reviews, make sure you click right here, and of course subscribe so I can see you guys next week.